Hello and welcome to the Tomcast. I'm Tom, president and dictator for life of 515comics.com. Since Nextus was originally launched on Christmas Eve, I always like to kind of look back after the Christmas season is over and see what has happened in the year with the comic. So just so you guys know, I'm going to be doing kind of a retrospective on everything that's happened, some of the main points of what has happened in the story, and just what I was excited to get to, what I was excited to draw, just some personal things that I was pleased to see come to fruition in the comic. So if you haven't read a lot of the comic from the last year, I ask that you please don't watch this and go read the comic instead, because I'm gonna spoil a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna give away stuff for the future, but if you haven't read the story, I'm gonna be jumping around a lot, and yeah, it just would be better if you knew what I was talking about. Everybody'd be happier and it'd be great. First of all, the numbers, we did we did exactly 148 pages since last Christmas. That does not include covers. That doesn't include, I took a break and my friend Darcy did a little 3-page mini to let me take a week off. So there were about 8 updates that weren't actually posts. 3 of those were Darcy's updates. 3 of those were covers. So that means only 2 other fillers, which that's pretty darn good. If I do say so myself, I'm quite proud. So anyway, just kind of running through some of the stuff that happened. So chapters, we ended chapter 14. We went into chapter 15, 16, completed both of those. And then chapter 17, the last page of chapter 17 is actually going up tomorrow on Saturday. So we basically made it through 3 whole chapters and finished off chapter 14, about half chapter 14 in this year. So that's pretty good. I feel like that's not a lot of chapters, but at the same time, some of these chapters were really long. In fact, moving right along into the events of chapter 14, there was a lot of stuff that happened in chapter 14. And so it was stuff that I was really, really excited about. And just talking about the half of chapter 14 that was in this year, we got to see Randall sort of mourn for the passing of the True Mark, which, it was very sad. I mean, it's like the first big character death in the whole comic was the True Mark basically crashing and being left and abandoned in the desert. There were a couple pages of Randall sort of reminiscing about the True Mark and seeing some of the old crew in their heyday. That was always fun. And then it was really exciting later in that chapter to see the Hooded Man reappear. He hadn't actually been in the comic for a really long time. He'd been mentioned and people remembered him, but he hadn't actually made an appearance. And so it was really cool to have him come and piss off Randall. That was a lot of fun. Also, at the end of that chapter, see, a lot of stuff happened in chapter 14. At the end of that chapter, 115 encounters his first Daunt on the planet of Nextus. The Daunts being the alien race that are trying to overthrow his home world and take over. So, didn't go super well. Then in chapter 15, probably one of my favorite things in that chapter was actually getting to have Arik and Elle have a pretty meaningful conversation and actually interact in a meaningful way. So that was really fun. I'm kind of hard on Arik when it comes to his interactions with Elle, but it was nice to actually, let him have a little something there. Also in chapter 15, Randall finally puts on the frickin' visor that I've been drawing him with since before I was even doing this comic. I assumed that he would be wearing that thing all the time, and then it sort of turned into this useful story element, and so it didn't make sense for him to have it right away. So now he's finally got it. 6.5 years in, there we go. All right. Speaking of 6.5-year-old things, in chapter 16, at the start of chapter 16, we see an interaction with with the bartender who is simply known as Cook. This is a joke that I wanted to do ever since I started the comic. One of my biggest influences is Cowboy Bebop, and I love how Cowboy Bebop always has the same bartender wherever they go. There's actually a lot of recurring characters in Cowboy Bebop, and I always thought that was really funny, and so I really wanted to do that too. So here I drew the exact same guy, but in an updated style. So anyway, it was just really fun to finally yeah, there's that joke that I wanted to tell forever. Also, chapter 16, we see Randall going through some of Katja's things, finding a Waywa mask. What could that possibly mean? Oh my goodness, the implications. We see that Ezekal has come across the wreck of the True Mark, so we know that Ezekal is still on their tail and still looking for them and the map. Then we see the Knicks and the NPDF sort of butt heads over the finding of the wrecked True Mark. The Knicks is trying to kind of keep everything under wraps, trying to keep everything so that it's just them looking for John Smith. They want to keep the NPDF out of it as much as possible. But as we saw at the end of that chapter, RJ was more than willing to use them in order to further their goals. Now, chapter 17. We see that that John has come to from being blacking out during the True Mark crash, and we get to see a little bit more of his backstory, which is really great. I mean, again, this is something that it's like, wow, I've been wanting to do this for literally years. Actually explain some of what's going on with John, but I hope that there's still enough mystery there that it's like I didn't just give you everything. We still don't know exactly what's up with John. Also, we get a little bit further down the rabbit hole when Randall finds out that the reason that Katja is helping John is because she is searching for someone who Randall suspects could well be the Hooded Man. So deeper and deeper we go. So it's been great. I can't tell you how much I love seeing the story come to be, and I love that there are people like you who are reading it and who are then interested enough in it that you're willing to watch a video that the guy who made it makes about himself and the story. So anyway, it's been a great year for the story of Nextus. We've covered a lot of ground, and I'm really excited. There's a lot of really good stuff coming this next year as well. The story has quite a ways yet to go, so hang in there. It's going to be a pretty sweet year. And as always, thanks for watching.